I'm Michelle, 31 years old, and always the odd one out in my family. I showed up at my parents' 35th anniversary party at the Riverside Grill, buzzing with hope to reconnect. Their faces didn't light up with joy. "You're not invited," my dad snapped. I stood my ground, but security was called. "Get this beggar out," he sneered, clueless that I'd paid for half the event. I left quietly, then cut off $62,000 in financial support. Soon, my phone blew up with calls as someone banged on my door. If you're watching, I'd love to hear where you're from. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments if you've ever felt like an outsider in your family. This story of betrayal and standing tall is one you won't want to skip. I grew up in a flawless-looking home in suburban Connecticut, where image trumped everything. My parents, Robert and Diana, chased status like it was oxygen. We seemed like the perfect upper-middle-class family, with matching Christmas photo outfits and a lawn my dad manicured every weekend. But inside, I felt like I was wearing shoes that didn't fit. My brother James, the golden child, followed Dad into finance. My sister Catherine became the surgeon Mom wished she'd been before marrying Dad. Then there was me, Michelle, the artist who loved storytelling. When I picked design over business or medicine, the disappointment in their eyes still haunts me. "Art's just a hobby, not a career," Dad would say, his tone sharp with judgment. "No one makes real money that way," Mom would chime in, her passive-aggressive jab ready. "We're just worried about your future, sweetheart. Not everyone's cut out for something so risky." At 18, I left home, juggling 3 jobs to get through college while my siblings got their rent and tuition covered. I survived on 4 hours of sleep, ate ramen for weeks, and never asked my parents for help, even when exhaustion landed me in the ER. Pride and grit were my only friends. By 30, I'd built a design agency that outshone my brother's finance gig and my sister's medical career combined. My company, Creative Vision, started with just me in a tiny apartment and grew to 28 designers with clients across North America. Last year, we hit 7 figures in profit. Did my success shift how my parents saw me? Not at all. At family gatherings, they'd boast about James, our investment banker, and Catherine, our brilliant surgeon. Me? I was just Michelle. No title, no nod to my wins. They'd dodge questions about my business like it was a secret. For years, I tried to mend things with them. Not because I craved their approval, but because I valued a bond with my aging parents. I showed up to more family events, sent thoughtful gifts, and called regularly. They never knew I was helping them financially. 3 years ago, when Dad's health forced early retirement and they struggled with mortgage payments, I secretly set up a $3,000 monthly deposit to their account. They thought it was some forgotten retirement perk. When Catherine needed a house down payment last year, I funneled $50,000 through a lawyer, disguised as a medical grant. When James's divorce left him drowning in student loans, I cleared $80,000 of his debt, making it look like a bank program. For their 35th anniversary, when they said they couldn't afford a big celebration, I quietly covered half the cost of a fancy party at the Riverside Grill. I told the planner to credit the whole family, so my siblings could feel part of it without knowing I paid the most. I thought that party could heal our family's wounds. Everyone happy together might close old gaps. But I'd noticed odd signs lately, whispered phone calls that stopped when I walked in, group texts with my siblings and parents that left me out. I told myself I was overthinking, that feeling like an outsider had made me too sensitive. The week before the party, I bought them tickets to Alaska, their dream trip they could never afford. I wrapped them in a beautiful package with a heartfelt card, excited to show my love openly for once, instead of hiding behind secret help. I was so wrong. The morning of their anniversary, I woke up with a rare spark of hope for a family event. I took extra time getting ready, picking a sleek navy blue dress that screamed success but fit the occasion. I styled my hair in an elegant updo, kept my makeup natural, and chose my best jewelry. In the mirror, I hoped tonight they'd see me as the woman I'd become, not the daughter who took the wrong path. The Alaska ticket sat in a silver envelope inside a pearlescent box, tied with a ribbon matching my dress. I'd worked with the travel agent to include a folder with every excursion option: dog sledding, glacier tours, wildlife watching, northern lights viewing, all prepaid. I spent $8,000, happy to do it if it meant seeing real joy on their faces. I got to the Riverside Grill 30 minutes early, heart racing with anticipation. The restaurant sat high on a cliff, its windows glowing with the golden sunset. Valet attendants in sharp uniforms welcomed guests, and a doorman held open heavy oak doors marked with the restaurant's logo. Inside, crystal chandeliers lit up marble floors and rich mahogany furniture. This was my parents' kind of place, prestige on a plate. "Good evening. I'm here for the Franklin anniversary celebration," I told the hostess, using my parents' last name. She scrolled through her tablet with a manicured finger. "I'm sorry, I don't see your name on the guest list. Can you give it again?" "Michelle Franklin," I said, a knot tightening in my stomach. "I'm Robert and Diana's daughter." She checked again, her smile fading. "I'm sorry, Miss Franklin, your name isn't on the host's list." "There's got to be a mix-up," I said, forcing a chuckle. "It's my parents' anniversary." I glanced past her into the dining room. My family was already there: Dad in his sharp charcoal suit, Mom dazzling in silver, James and Catherine with their spouses, all laughing with champagne in hand. At least 30 guests, family, friends, colleagues I knew, were mingling. Something felt off. The party wasn't supposed to start for 20 minutes, yet everyone was already there, celebrating without me. Had the time changed? Did I miss a message? I decided to sort it out myself. "I'll talk to my parents. It's just a misunderstanding." Before the hostess could stop me, I walked into the dining room, clutching my gift box. Mom spotted me first. Her smile froze, eyes wide with clear alarm. She whispered to Dad, touching his arm. He turned, his cheerful face turning cold and hard. James and Catherine swapped uneasy looks. The room's chatter quieted as guests sensed the tension, eyes turning to me. "Michelle," Dad said, his voice cutting through the hushed room. "What are you doing here?" Confusion hit me like a wave, turning to dread. "It's your anniversary," I said, my voice smaller than I meant. "Why wouldn't I be here?" Mom stepped forward, her smile fake, eyes distant. "Sweetie, we didn't expect you. This is just a small gathering for close family and friends." Close family. The word stung like a slap. If this was for close family, what was I? Catherine avoided my gaze. James stared at his shoes. Neither said a word to back me up. "There's a mistake," I said, the gift box heavy in my hands. "I helped arrange this." Dad's face darkened. "No mistake, Michelle. You're not invited." His words hung in the air, endless and heavy. Guests pretended not to eavesdrop, but they were listening. Mom fiddled with her pearl necklace, a nervous tic from my childhood. Catherine studied her nails like they held secrets. James sipped his champagne, eyes anywhere but on me. "I don't get it," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the storm inside. "This is a family event. I'm your daughter." Dad stepped closer, his voice low but loud enough for others to hear. "This is for people who are part of our lives, Michelle. Not someone who shows up when it suits them and then vanishes." His words burned. I'd been the one trying to reconnect for years, calling, visiting, reaching out. "That's not fair," I shot back. "I call every week. I visit when you let me." Mom's voice was syrupy, her eyes cold. "Darling, this isn't the time for family issues. Let's talk another day. Tonight's special for us." I saw their friends exchange awkward glances. Mrs. Patterson, Mom's bridge club pal, looked sympathetic. Dr. Anderson, Dad's golf buddy, stared hard at his wine glass. "I brought a gift," I said, holding out the wrapped box. "For your anniversary." Mom didn't reach for it. Leave it with the others, she said, waving toward a table piled with packages. I stood there, feeling like an outsider at an event I'd helped fund. The sting of rejection in front of their friends made my chest ache. You should go, Michelle, Dad said, his voice loud now. You're embarrassing everyone. Embarrassing, I echoed, hurt seeping into my voice. I'm embarrassing to you. You've always loved drama, he said, brushing me off. Always causing scenes, craving attention. I looked to my siblings, hoping for any sign they'd stand up for me. Nothing. Catherine whispered to her husband. James suddenly needed to check his phone. Fine, I said, barely above a whisper. I'll go. But you should know I paid for half this party. The venue, the catering, the champagne you're holding, that was me. Dad's face turned red, anger or shame, I couldn't tell. That's nonsense. James and Catherine planned it all, he said. I didn't back down, and his expression twisted into something harsh. Security, he shouted, pointing to a staff member. We have an uninvited guest who needs to leave. A murmur spread through the crowd. A tall security guard in a black suit approached, looking uneasy. Sir, he asked, glancing between us. Remove her, Dad ordered, pointing at me like I was a stranger. She's disrupting our private event. Dad, I said, my voice breaking from shock. You're not serious. Then came the words I'll never forget, loud and cruel for all to hear. Get this beggar out. She's an embarrassment, crashing here, lying about paying, probably after a handout. Guests gasped. Even the guard seemed stunned. Mr. Franklin, he started, maybe we can handle this quietly? But Dad was done with quiet. Do it, he snapped, or I'll talk to your manager about this place. I looked to Mom, desperate for any sign she'd defend me. She just turned away, her polite mask locked in place. It's okay, I told the guard, summoning strength from somewhere deep. I'll leave. I set my gift on a nearby table, squared my shoulders, and walked out slowly. I wanted to run, to flee the humiliation, but I refused to let Dad see me break. At the hostess stand, I caught my reflection in a mirror. I looked composed, hiding the pain tearing me apart. In my car, the tears finally came. I shook behind the wheel, 31 years of chasing their love collapsing around me. Through the windshield, the restaurant's warm glow mocked me. Inside, my family partied on, as if I'd never existed. I drove off, leaving behind the restaurant and my hope of ever being accepted. The ride home blurred with streetlights and tears, my makeup ruined, mascara streaking down my face. Dad's words echoed in my head, beggar. Embarrassment. Uninvited. Each one cut deeper, sharp and raw. By the time I reached my driveway, the shock was turning into something new, not anger, but a cold, clear resolve. I sat in my car, staring at the home I'd built alone. My modern 2-story house, with its big windows and neat yard, proved what I'd achieved without them. Inside, I kicked off my heels and went to the kitchen. I grabbed a bottle of red wine, poured a big glass, and took it to my home office. Sitting in my leather chair, I opened my laptop to review what I'd done for my family. I checked my bank account first. There was the $3,000 monthly transfer to my parents, disguised as a retirement benefit, $36,000 a year they never questioned. 3 years of that added up to $108,000. Then I opened my family support folder. There was the $50,000 I'd given Catherine for her house, the $80,000 I'd paid off for James's loans, and my parents' insurance premiums, $700 a month for 2 years. Smaller costs piled up too: subscriptions, weekly housekeeping, their landscaper, a meal service I'd set up when Mom griped about cooking. Those totaled another $12,000 a year. Finally, the anniversary party. The planner's invoice showed my $22,000 contribution for an event I wasn't wanted at. As I added it all up, my phone pinged. My cousin Rachel, who was at the party, texted, "Hey, where are you?" Everyone's asking. Your parents said you had a work emergency. They were covering up my absence. A work emergency? How convenient. Then my Aunt Susan texted, Abby, you okay? Heard you couldn't make the party. Call me. They'd invited extended family but not me. The truth hit like ice water. I took a deep breath and acted. In my banking app, I stopped the monthly transfers to my parents. I emailed the property management company to end their landscaping and housekeeping contracts. One by one, I canceled every subscription, every service, every bit of support I'd been giving. I couldn't take back the money already given to Catherine's grant, but I'd been paying it in chunks. I canceled the remaining $30,000 still owed. Then I called the travel agency to nix the Alaska trip tickets. The agent was kind, understanding my vague family emergency excuse. The $8,000 refund would hit in 3 to 5 days. I fired off a sharp email to my family accountant, effective immediately. I'm stopping all financial support to Robert, Diana, James, and Catherine Franklin Wilson. No more transfers from my accounts to them. Cancel all automatic payments now. The accountant replied in minutes, promising to handle it fast. Then I dialed the event planner for my parents' party. Amanda, it's Michelle Franklin. Michelle, everything okay? I thought you'd be at the party by now. Plans changed, I said, voice steady. Tell the venue I'm pulling my funding. Pulling it? The event's happening now. Initial payments are done. Then they'll need to bill the host for the rest. That's not me anymore. I hung up, set my phone to do not disturb, and poured another glass of wine. In under an hour, I'd cut off $62,000 in immediate support and stopped thousands more in monthly payments. Relief mixed with grief washed over me. Stopping the one-sided giving felt freeing, but it also killed my hope for change. In the dimming light, I saw I'd spent years trying to buy love from people who wouldn't give it. That night showed what I'd always known: I'd never be enough for them. I carried my wine to the bathroom, ran a hot bath, and sank in, letting the water rinse away smeared makeup and the sting of rejection. Tomorrow could wait for the fallout. Tonight, I mourned the family I'd longed for but never had. Morning sunlight poured through my bedroom windows, my phone eerily quiet. Usually, notifications buzzed at dawn, but I'd left it on Do Not Disturb. When I turned it on, it vibrated nonstop, 36 missed calls, 17 voicemails, 42 texts. Dad's first voicemail, from 11:30 p.m., slurred from champagne. Michelle, the restaurant's saying there's a payment issue. Call me now. His 12:15 a.m. message was sharper. What are you doing? The venue's threatening an extra $20,000. Fix this. By 1:20 a.m., he was threatening. If you don't sort this out by morning, you'll regret it. Your mother's crying. Is that what you wanted? Mom's text started at 2 a.m., pleading, saying I'd ruined their night and they didn't get why I'd be so cruel. James texted at 3:12 a.m. Abby, what the hell? Mom and Dad had to charge the party to their card. Dad's got chest pains from stress. Is this about not being invited? Grow up. Catherine's 4:45 a.m. message read, Dad says the bank called about a cancelled mortgage payment. What are you doing? By morning, Dad's tone softened, almost unfamiliar. Michelle, we need to talk. Please call. It's important. Mom texted at 7:30 a.m. Sweetie, call us. We're so confused. Dad's worried about the mortgage. I set my phone down and made coffee, hands steady despite their messages stirring a storm inside. As the coffee's rich smell filled my kitchen, I weighed my options. Part of me wanted to fire back, explaining why I'd pulled the plug. Another part, the kids still craving their approval, wanted to apologize and fix it all. I did neither. I dressed for work, ate breakfast, and headed to my office like it was any other day. My company needed me, and I had client meetings I wouldn't ditch for family drama. Calls kept coming, but I told my assistant to say I was unavailable to family. By lunch, my parents had rallied every cousin, friend, and even mom's hairdresser, sending me worried messages. My cousin Rachel, who'd been at the party, showed up at my office without warning. "Abby, what's happening?" she asked, sitting across from my desk. "Your parents are losing it, saying you canceled their mortgage and the party bill. They're telling everyone you had a breakdown." I took a deep breath. "Rachel, did they tell you what happened at the party? That I showed up and was publicly kicked out?" Her eyes widened in shock. "No way. They said you had a work emergency and couldn't come. They seemed disappointed but understanding." "That's not true," I said, then shared the real story. Rachel's face shifted from confusion to horror as I spoke. "They called security on you after you paid for half the party? That's awful. Did you know I've been covering their mortgage for 3 years? Or that I gave Catherine $50,000 for her house and paid off James's student loans?" "No," she whispered. "They never said a word. They always brag about James and Catherine's success, how they've helped your parents so much." "Exactly. I've been the one keeping them afloat, all while being treated like the family letdown." Rachel left, promising to keep it private, and I went back to work. Around 5 p.m., my assistant buzzed me. "Miss Franklin, your father's here. No appointment, but he insists on seeing you." My stomach nodded, but I stayed calm. "Tell him I'm in a meeting and unavailable." 10 minutes later, she buzzed again, sounding uneasy. "He won't leave. Says he'll wait in the lobby all night." "Call security to escort him out," I said, then softened. "Lisa, it's not your problem. Go home if you're uncomfortable." Before she could reply, my office door flew open. Dad stood there, a shadow of the commanding man I knew. His neat appearance was gone, hair messy, eyes red from tears or sleeplessness, I wasn't sure. "Michelle," he said, voice rough. "We need to talk." I stayed at my desk. "This is my workplace. You can't just barge in. You gave me no choice. You won't answer your phone. What have you done?" "You know what I've done," I said, calmer than I felt. "I stopped funding a family that doesn't want me." He stepped closer. "This is petty revenge. Your mother's a wreck. The mortgage company called. The landscaper quit. What are you proving?" "I'm not proving anything. I'm done supporting people who had me thrown out of a party I helped fund, who called me a beggar in front of everyone." His face reddened. I was upset. "You showed up uninvited to our anniversary. An event I paid $22,000 for." He stared, struggling to process it. "What?" "James and Catherine handled everything." "Did they say that?" "I have receipts for what I paid, plus every mortgage payment, every bill I've covered for 3 years." For once, Dad was speechless. He sank into the chair across from me, looking all of his 65 years. "Why hide that you were helping?" he asked finally. "Would it have changed how you treated me? Or would you have just expected it?" He had no response. After a tense silence, I stood. "I have a dinner meeting. I'm leaving. Michelle, please. We can't afford the mortgage on our own." "Then downsize," I said, grabbing my things. "Or ask James and Catherine, your successful kids, for help." As I reached the door, he tried again. "We're still your parents." I paused, hand on the knob. "Yes, but that doesn't mean you can treat me like I don't matter. It doesn't entitle you to my money." I left him there. As the elevator doors closed, I felt a rush. I'd finally told Dad my truth without chasing his approval. 3 days passed quietly. The angry calls slowed, replaced by hesitant texts from Mom trying to reconcile and Dad asking about finances. I kept my distance, answering only direct questions with short, clear replies. I thought they'd find a way to manage and slip back into their old pattern of ignoring me. But on the fourth day, something unexpected happened. I was in a client meeting when Lisa knocked, looking apologetic. "Sorry, Miss Franklin, your family's here." "My family?" I asked, confused. "Your parents, brother, and sister. They're in the lobby, refusing to leave until you talk." My clients raised eyebrows. I apologized, asked for a 15-minute break, and they agreed. In the lobby, the scene was surreal. Dad stood by the desk, Mom sat nervously, James paced near the windows, and Catherine studied my office's awards. They all turned as I walked in. "This is my workplace," I said, calm but firm. "This could have waited until after hours." James shot back, "We tried. You've been dodging us for days." "I've been working," I said. "Some of us have businesses to run." Dad stepped closer. "Michelle, we need to fix this as a family." I glanced around the open office, my employees sneaking looks at the drama. "Not here. I've got clients waiting." "Then when?" Catherine snapped. "You won't call back or meet. Mom and Dad are getting collection notices." Her words sparked something in me. Collection notices? In 3 days? That's hard to believe, Catherine. But this family's always loved a dramatic twist. Mom stood, tears in her eyes. "Please, Michelle. We just want to understand." I paused, then nodded. "Wait in the small conference room." I pointed to a glass-walled space in the back. "I'll join after I reschedule my meeting." 20 minutes later, after apologizing to my clients and moving our meeting to tomorrow, I walked into the conference room and shut the door. My family sat silently, tension thick. "You've got 30 minutes, I said, staying on my feet. "I've got another appointment." Dad cleared his throat. "We need to talk about the financial help you were giving." "We had no idea." "What's to talk about?" "I was supporting you all. Now I'm not. It's that simple." "Why keep it secret?" Mom asked. "Why not tell us you paid our mortgage? Would it have mattered? Would you have respected my career, stopped praising James and Catherine as the successful ones while ignoring me, or invited me to family events instead of treating me like a burden?" Silence answered. Catherine's voice was sharp, mixed with shame. "So this is punishment for not inviting you to the party?" "No, Catherine, it's consequences. For years of being pushed out, for being thrown out of an event I funded, for Dad calling me a beggar while you all stood silent." James cut in, "We didn't know you paid for the party. Would it have changed anything?" I pressed. He looked away. I kept going. "Did you ever question how Mom and Dad afforded their lifestyle on Dad's retirement and Mom's part-time job? The big house, the landscaping, the trips?" Catherine squirmed. "We thought they had savings, investments." "And your house down payment? That grant that came just in time? Or James's loans that magically got forgiven after his divorce?" Their faces showed shock, then unease. "That was you?" James asked softly. I nodded. "All of it. Over $200,000 in 3 years." Mom gasped. "Why do it secretly?" "I wanted to help without strings. And deep down, I knew you'd downplay it, make it less than if James or Catherine had done it." Dad, quiet until now, spoke up. "Why give so much if you felt unappreciated?" His honesty threw me. "Because that's what family does. They help, even when it's tough, even when it's not returned. I hoped one day you'd see me as enough." Mom's tears fell harder. "I didn't know you felt less than your siblings. But you made me feel it," I said. "All of you." Every time you called my career a hobby, praised their paths while doubting mine, or left me out of family moments. Like the party. Dad started to speak, then stopped, searching for words. We didn't invite you because Mom was worried. About what? Mom wiped her eyes. That you'd outshine us, she whispered. Your success, your confidence, it made me fear our friends would wonder why we don't talk about you like we do James and Catherine. Her words hit hard. I thought they were ashamed of my creative path, not jealous of my success. So you shut me out because I'm too successful? That's even worse. It wasn't logical, Mom admitted. It was fear, pride, jealousy. You built something amazing without us, and it made me question my own choices. James leaned in. I didn't know you paid off my loans. I thought it was a program. I'd have thanked you. Would you? Or would you have hated that your little sister bailed you out? His silence spoke volumes. Catherine, ever blunt, asked, will you restart the payments, the mortgage, the services? No, I said flatly. That's over. If you want to help Mom and Dad, step up. I've done enough while being treated like an outsider. No more. We can't help them like you did, Catherine admitted. Not with my kids' school fees and James's alimony. That's not my issue anymore, I said, feeling a rush of freedom in those words. If there's nothing else, I've got a meeting to prep for. As they grabbed their things, Dad paused. The anniversary dinner, the venue said someone pulled funding mid-event. Was that you? Yes, I confessed. After they kicked me out of a party I helped pay for, I withdrew my share. I guess they billed the rest to the card on file. That's mine, he said softly. $22,000 I don't have. Not my problem, I replied, holding the door open. You chose your actions. I chose mine. Mom lingered as they left, eyes red with tears. I'm so sorry, Michelle. I never meant for this. My resolve wavered for a moment. I know, Mom, but sorry doesn't fix it after all this. She nodded, sad, and followed the others out, leaving me in the doorway, watching the family I'd tried to please walk away, our truth laid bare. 2 weeks passed without a word from them. Those 14 days felt odd, a mix of sorrow and freedom. I dove into work, sealed a big client deal, and hung out with friends who always saw me for me. For the first time in years, I wasn't weighed down by chasing approval from people who held it back. James reached out first, surprising me with a text, "Coffee?" Just us. We met at a quiet cafe near my office. He was there early, 2 coffees waiting as I sat down. Got you a vanilla latte, he said. Still your thing, right? His small gesture, remembering my order, hit me unexpectedly. Thanks, I said, holding the warm cup. How's it going? It's tough, he said. Mom and Dad are selling the house. They can't afford it without you, and Catherine and I can't cover it. I nodded, waiting for more. I had no clue, he said after a pause, about all you did for us. I feel stupid for not questioning it. You believed what was easy, I said, no bitterness in my voice. We all do sometimes. He stared at his coffee. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you at the party or question why you weren't invited. I knew it was wrong, but I stayed quiet. Why? He sighed. It was easier to keep the peace. Being the golden child comes with rules, like never challenging Mom and Dad. For the first time, I saw James not as the favored son, but as someone stuck in a role with its own pressures. I envied you, he said suddenly. Me? Why? Your freedom, your guts to chase your dreams despite their disapproval. I followed their path blindly. Now I'm in a job I don't love, divorced at 36, still craving their approval. We talked for nearly 3 hours, exploring new ground. I learned James wanted to study music but was pushed into business. His marriage failed partly because he chose someone our parents liked, not his heart. He admired my independence, even while part of the family that shut me out. "What's next for us?" he asked as we left. "The family, I mean." "I don't know," I said honestly. "But it can't be like before." I remember the day Catherine's text popped up on my phone. It was a Tuesday afternoon, right in the middle of a client call. "Lunch this week?" "My treat." "We should talk." I stared at it for a minute, my thumb hovering over the reply button. James had been so open during our coffee chat, sharing his regrets and envies like he'd been holding them in for years. But Catherine? She was different, always the one with the sharp edges, the defensive walls. I wondered if this was her attempt at a bridge or just another way to justify everything. Still, I typed back, "Sure. Friday works." We met at this fancy French bistro downtown, the kind with velvet chairs and menus in elegant script. Catherine was already seated, looking every bit the successful surgeon in her tailored blazer. She stood to hug me, but it was quick, almost perfunctory. "Thanks for coming," she said, her smile tight. We ordered salad niçoise for her, a croque madame for me, and the small talk flowed about weather and traffic until the food arrived. Then she launched in, spending the first 20 minutes defending herself. Her fork waved as she spoke, emphasizing each point. "Michelle, you have to see it from our side," she said, her voice carrying that familiar defensive edge. "We were raised to follow Mom and Dad's lead. That's just how it was in our house, no questioning, no rocking the boat. And you were always so different. Always pushing back, doing your own thing, challenging everything they said. It made family dinners tense, you know?" I listened, biting back the urge to interrupt. Her words echoed the old narrative I'd heard 1,000 times, the one where I was the problem child, the outlier. "Different doesn't mean I deserve to be excluded," I replied calmly, setting down my knife. "It doesn't excuse shutting me out of events or standing by silently when Dad called me a beggar in front of all their friends." She paused, her eyes dropping to her plate. For a moment, the bustle of the restaurant, the clink of glasses, the murmur of other diners, filled the silence. When she looked up, shame colored her features. "You're right," she said softly. "That was awful. I should have spoken up. I should have told Dad to stop right there. I regret not doing it. It haunts me now, thinking about how you must have felt." The admission was small, but it cracked her armor. I felt a shift, like the air between us lightened just a bit. As lunch progressed, her defensiveness began to melt away. She pushed her salad around, then opened up more. "After you started Creative Vision and it really took off, everything changed for me. The pressure to be the perfect daughter, the one they could always brag about, got intense. I had to keep excelling, keep being the reliable one." I nodded, recalling how Mom would light up when talking about Catherine's surgeries or awards. "What made it harder?" I asked, genuinely curious. "It was easier when you were struggling," she confessed, her voice dropping as if the words were hard to say. "Back then, it fit the family story we'd all bought into, James the steady finance guy, me the brilliant doctor, and you the dreamy Michelle who needed to learn the hard way that the real world doesn't reward artists and creatives. But when you started succeeding, building a team, landing big clients, making more money than any of us, it threatened that whole narrative. Suddenly, your path looked freer, more fulfilling. It made me question if I'd chosen right." I leaned back in my chair, the taste of my sandwich turning bittersweet. All those years, I'd thought their dismissal was just disappointment in my choices. But this? It was deeper, more human. "So, to protect the story, you helped push me away," I said, not accusing, just stating. "Not on purpose," she protested, her eyes meeting mine with a flash of vulnerability. Then she paused, exhaling slowly. "But yes, I suppose that's what happened. I didn't want to see it at the time. Admitting it now, it's tough. I was scared of what your success said about my own life, the long hours in the OR, the stress, the feeling like I was living Mom's unfulfilled dream instead of my own. We sat there, the waiter refilling our water glasses, giving us a moment to breathe. For the first time, I saw Catherine as more than my competitive sister. She was someone carrying her own burdens, shaped by the same family pressures that had hurt me. "I never wanted to make you feel threatened," I said. "I just wanted to be part of the family, not the outsider." By the end of lunch, as we split the bill despite her offer, we'd found some common ground. It wasn't a full reconciliation, no dramatic tears or promises to be best friends forever. But it was understanding. Catherine was still grappling with her role in our family's mess. She wasn't ready to dive as deep as James had. Yet, she'd taken those first steps, acknowledging her part. As we hugged goodbye on the sidewalk, she said, "Let's not wait so long next time." I smiled. Deal. The following Sunday afternoon brought another surprise. My doorbell rang while I was sorting through design sketches in my home office. I opened the door to find Mom standing there, alone, a small bag in her hand, probably baked goods, her way of softening tough talks. She looked smaller than I remembered, her shoulders hunched, her usual polished look replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. Her hair had a few stray grays she hadn't bothered to touch up. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice tentative. I nodded, stepping aside. "Of course, come in." We walked to the living room, the space feeling intimate with just the two of us. I gestured to the couch, and we sat, the silence stretching like a heavy blanket woven from decades of unspoken words, hurts, and assumptions. I waited, not filling the quiet with chatter. Finally, she broke it. "The house is under contract," she said, her eyes on the coffee table. "We found a cozy 2-bedroom condo closer to town. It's actually a relief in some ways. The big house was becoming too much to manage, with the yard and all the rooms we never used." Her words carried a hint of loss, but also acceptance. I could see the practicality in it, the downsizing forced by reality. "That sounds like a good move," I replied, my tone neutral but not cold. I didn't want to gloat or dismiss her, this was her opening up. "Michelle," she began again, then stopped, her fingers twisting in her lap. She took a deep breath, like she was gathering courage for a dive into deep water. "I've been doing a lot of thinking these past weeks. Really soul-searching about why I treated you the way I did. Why I stood by and let your father treat you that way too, without stepping in." The admission hung there, raw and vulnerable. I stayed quiet, giving her the room to continue. This was her story to tell, and I sensed it had been bottled up for years. "I was jealous," she admitted at last, her voice barely above a whisper, as if saying it louder would make it too real. "Jealous of your bravery, your natural talent, your absolute refusal to settle for anything less than what you dreamed. You know, I had ambitions once. Big ones. I wanted to become a doctor, to heal people, to make a difference in the world. But when I met your father, I chose marriage and family instead. I told myself it was what I wanted, what any good woman would want back then. Stability, children, a home." I watched her, seeing the young woman she once was flicker in her expression. "And then you came along," she continued, "the baby of the family, so full of determination. You wouldn't bend to our expectations, wouldn't take the safe path. It stirred something in me, regret, maybe. Envy that you had the guts I lacked." Tears welled in her eyes, spilling over as she spoke. "Every time you succeeded, and oh, you did, Michelle, building that company from nothing despite our lack of support, it felt like a personal judgment on the choices I'd made. On the life I'd settled for, the dreams I'd packed away. It was easier to diminish your achievements, to call them hobbies or unreliable, than to face my own regrets head-on. I pushed you down to lift myself up, and I'm so ashamed of that now." Her honesty pierced through me like a gentle light, cracking open the hardened places in my heart. For so long, I'd carried the pain of her dismissal, thinking it was about me not being good enough. But hearing this, compassion flooded in, washing away some of the old hurt that had resided there for decades. "Mom," I said softly, my voice steady, "I never judged your choices. Growing up, I saw how you held everything together, the meals, the holidays, the way you made our house a home. That was strength too. I just wanted the freedom to make my own path, without feeling like it was a betrayal. I know that now, she said, reaching for my hand and holding it tight. Her touch was warm, familiar. And I'm so proud of what you've built, Michelle. So incredibly proud of the woman you've become, strong, independent, successful. Even though I had very little to do with shaping her. You did that all on your own, and that's something I admire more than I can say. We sat like that for a while, hands linked, the silence now comfortable instead of heavy. Then the conversation flowed, really flowed, perhaps for the first time in my adult life. She shared more about her regrets, the medical school acceptance letter she'd turned down, the trips to Europe she'd dreamed of but never taken. I thought family was enough, she said. And it was, in many ways. But seeing you chase your passions made me wonder what if. I opened up too, about the loneliness of building my business alone, the nights I cried after family gatherings where I felt invisible. I hid the financial help because I didn't want it to be about money, I told her. I just wanted love. Hours slipped by, afternoon turning to evening, as we talked. It wasn't all serious, we laughed about old family vacations, like the time Dad got lost driving to the beach. You were the one who read the map and got us there, she recalled, smiling through tears. By the time she left, hugging me longer than usual at the door, something profound had shifted between us. A new understanding was taking root, blooming where resentment had overgrown for so long. It felt fragile, like a young plant, but real. Dad was the last to reach out, and I'll admit, I braced myself for it. His message came via email, formal as always, Michelle, I'd like to meet. The park near the old house, tomorrow afternoon? Neutral ground. The park, where we'd had those rare, joyful family picnics when I was young, chasing butterflies and eating sandwiches on blankets. It felt symbolic, a place of simpler times. I replied yes, though my heart pounded with anticipation. Reconciling with him would be the hardest, his words at the party still echoed in my mind. I arrived a few minutes early, the sun warm on my skin, the air fresh with the scent of grass and water. Dad was already there, sitting on a bench by the pond, watching ducks swim lazily in the afternoon light. He stood as I approached, his posture stiff and uncomfortable, hands shoved in his pockets. Thanks for coming, he said, his tone formal, as if I were a business associate rather than his daughter. We sat side by side on the bench, the pond's gentle ripples providing a soothing backdrop. For several minutes, we just watched the ducks in silence, neither of us rushing to fill the void. I've never been good at apologies, he began at last, his voice gruff but steady. Or at admitting when I'm wrong. Your mother says that's where you get your stubbornness from, me. Despite everything, the years of criticism, the cold distance, that small comparison, acknowledging a trait we shared, warmed something deep inside me. It was his awkward way of bridging the gap. The things I said at the restaurant, he continued, staring out at the water, the way I treated you, it was unforgivable. Calling you names, calling security. I replay it and cringe. Then why did you do it? I asked, turning to face him. I needed to hear it from him. He sighed heavily, the sound carrying the weight of regret. Pride. Mostly injured pride. When you walked in that night, uninvited in our eyes, looking so confident and successful, it hit me hard. We'd deliberately excluded you, thinking it would keep things smooth. But there you were, confronting our decision in front of all our friends. It was humiliating. So I lashed out, said cruel things to push you away faster. You called security on your own daughter, I said, the memory still raw, my voice quiet but firm. I did, he replied, his shoulders slumping. And I have to live with that shame. It's something I'll carry forever. He turned to look at me directly, his eyes meeting mine for the first time. The truth is, Michelle, I've never understood you. Your choices, your determination to go your own way, to build something creative, it frightened me. Because I couldn't control it. And what I can't control, I've always tried to diminish, to make smaller so it doesn't threaten me. His words were the most honest he'd ever shared with me. Not a polished apology, but a genuine acknowledgement, a recognition of the controlling dynamic that had shaped our relationship for so long. It explained so much, the constant criticism of my career, the favoritism toward my siblings. I don't expect you to forgive me, he continued, his voice softening. Or to resume the financial support. We're managing without it now, cutting back, making do. And perhaps it's better this way, healthier for everyone, including you. Yes, I agreed, feeling a quiet resolve. It is. We talked for a while longer, not tying up every loose end or erasing every hurt, but beginning the slow, deliberate work of building something new from the ashes of what had been destroyed. He shared stories from his own childhood, a strict father who demanded obedience, shaping him into the man who valued control above all. I opened up about how his words had cut deep, but also how I'd found strength in proving him wrong. It wasn't easy conversation, but it was real. Before we parted, he hesitated, then asked, "Would you consider coming to dinner next Sunday at the new condo?" "Just family." "Your mother would like that very much." I considered it for a moment, weighing the progress against the past scars. "I'll think about it," I said honestly. 2 months after that awful anniversary party, the one that shattered everything and started the healing, we gathered for a family dinner at my parents' new condo. It was a modest place, cozy with soft lighting and simple decor, a far cry from the sprawling house I'd grown up in. The table was set for 6, with Mom's homemade lasagna at the center, the aroma of garlic and tomato sauce filling the air. James arrived first, arm in arm with his new girlfriend, Sarah, the music teacher he'd met at a community concert. She was bubbly, with a guitar slung over her shoulder, and immediately made the room feel lighter. "I thought we could play a song after dinner," she said, smiling at everyone. Catherine came next, alone, her husband staying home with their twins. "The kids are down with colds," she explained, hugging me a bit longer than usual. "But I wouldn't miss this." Dad carved the lasagna, Mom passed the salad, and we dug in. The conversation started awkward, small talk about weather, work updates. "How's the agency?" Dad asked me, his tone genuine. "Busy," I said. "Just landed a new client in Canada." He nodded approvingly, no condescension in his eyes. As the meal went on, tension crept in at times. Catherine mentioned a tough case at the hospital, and old habits surfaced, Mom praising her endlessly. But James caught it, steering us back. "Michelle had a big win too," he said. "Tell them about the award your team got." There were honest moments too. Mom shared how the move had forced her to declutter, letting go of old things. "Including some regrets," she added, glancing at me. And laughter, real, belly-deep laughter. Sarah pulled out her guitar, strumming a silly tune about family mishaps. James joined in, off-key but enthusiastic. Even Dad chuckled, his face softening. We were learning how to be a family without the old dynamics, without assigning roles like golden child or black sheep. No more competitions, no more exclusions. Just people sharing a meal, trying to connect on equal ground. I didn't resume the financial support, and they didn't ask. That era was over, closed like a book we'd all read too many times. Instead, we focused on building a relationship based on mutual respect, where listening mattered more than leading, and vulnerability wasn't a weakness. It was imperfect, conversations still stumbled, past hurts sometimes surfaced like ghosts. But it was honest, messy in a good way, and far more authentic than the polished pretense we'd lived before. This entire journey, the betrayal, the cutoff, the slow rebuild, taught me a deep, life-changing truth about self-worth and boundaries. For years, I'd poured my energy into trying to buy my family's love and acceptance. Secret payments, anonymous help, thoughtful gifts, all in hopes they'd finally see me, include me, value me freely. But it never worked. Instead, I let their judgment define my value, twisting myself to fit a mold that was never meant for me. Stepping away, refusing to fund my own exclusion, was terrifying at first. but it was the key to claiming my true worth. I realized self-value comes from within, not from others' approval. It's about honoring your path, even when it's lonely. And family? It's not defined by blood ties or financial obligations, not by who pays the bills or keeps secrets to maintain peace. True family thrives on mutual respect, where everyone's contributions, big or small, are acknowledged. It's built through honest communication, where hard truths are shared without fear of rejection. It's about willingness to see each other as we truly are, complex, evolving individuals, not as idealized versions or roles we assign. Sometimes, the most loving act isn't giving more, it's setting clear boundaries. It protects your spirit and gives space for growth. In my case, cutting the support wasn't vengeance, it was necessary. It forced reflection, opened doors to these conversations we'd avoided for decades. If you've ever compromised your worth for a scrap of acceptance, or found yourself giving endlessly in relationships where the flow is one-sided, hear this: your value doesn't hinge on others seeing it. You are inherently worthy. And sometimes, walking away, or creating distance, isn't born from anger. It's self-love in action, a vital step toward forging healthier, more equitable connections that nourish instead of drain. I'd love to hear your stories, really, I mean it. Have you set boundaries with family that transformed your relationships? Or walked away from ones that no longer served your well-being? Perhaps you've faced that gut-wrenching choice between keeping the peace and standing firm for yourself. Share your experiences in the comments below, your words might inspire someone else going through the same. And if this story hit home, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend or loved one who might need this message right now. Your support means the world. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my story. Remember, you are worthy of respect and love, exactly as you are. No exceptions.